Meanwhile, the Prime Minister has been speaking in the last few minutes. Let's listen in.
Yeah, I'm here at Writtle College in Essex talking to apprentices who work in our farming sector. And I've been talking to them about the changes that I announced yesterday, ensuring that we're going to deliver net zero, but do so in a proportionate, pragmatic way that minimises the impact on working families, all while hitting what are world-leading targets. Now, as I've been talking to them, these changes are particularly important for our rural and farming communities who were facing huge costs and are the backbone of our local economies. Now, I'm going to make the big decisions that are right for the long-term interests of our country, even if those are difficult, because that's how we're going to bring change, that's how we're going to build a better future for our children.
So you're delaying deadlines but telling us we can still meet our net zero targets. Something there doesn't seem to quite add up.
Yeah, we've been through the numbers and we're absolutely confident that we are on track to hit all our international and domestic targets, which, by the way, are world-leading. And the reason I have confidence in that is because we've over-delivered on all of our carbon budgets to date. Despite everyone saying, oh, you might not hit them, we've over-delivered on them. Plus, we can see that the costs of some of these new technologies are falling far faster than people have predicted. Offshore wind is a great example of that. Cost today 70% less than we predicted in 2016. And the adoption of new technologies is happening far faster than we thought. Electric vehicles being another good example. So when you put all of that together, run the numbers as we have, we're confident we're on track to deliver net zero, and we can do it now in a more proportionate and pragmatic way. That's how we're going to bring people with us, maintain consent for it, and minimise costs for working families that could have spiralled into the thousands and thousands of pounds. I don't think that's right.
Experts are doubting those claims. Those who have been appointed to advise you, the Climate Change Committee, they say that you're set to meet your carbon reduction targets. If you implement these policy changes, if you delay these targets, what extra things are going to come in so that we meet those targets?
Look, lots of people will have lots of different views on this. We've been through the numbers. We're confident that we are on track to deliver all our targets. And I point out, people have predicted that we'd miss our carbon budgets in the past, but we've actually met every single one of them more than that. We've exceeded all of the ones in the past. But as I said yesterday in this debate, it gets polarised between extremes. There are people who just want to deny climate change is happening. They're wrong. And on the other side, there are people who approach this with a kind of more ideological zeal, where they just don't care about the impact on families. I don't think they're right either. What I've done is pick the pragmatic course to delivering net zero, because I believe in it, and I think the country does and wants to do what's necessary, but they want that done in a fair, proportionate and pragmatic way. That's the course that we are taking, and I think that's the one that will command the broadest amount of support.
There was a mention in your speech about this demand about 7 bins, which has got quite a bit of coverage. Do correct me if I'm mistaken, that was in the Environment Act 2021. If that was such a ludicrous proposal, why did you vote for it?
No, well, what this was a proposal to put in place recycling, different sets of bins to do consistent recycling across the country. And again, now that I've been Prime Minister, I've had a chance to look through all these proposals in more detail, and I can say confidently that we don't have to do these things. Whether it's the government mandating how many people drive in cars, government saying that you need to have 7 bins, or being forced to rip out your boiler in the short term, or install energy efficiency measures which could have cost you £5,000, £10,000, £15,000, or change your car earlier than is necessary. Those are all things that we shouldn't and won't do. We don't have to do them to meet our targets. Our targets are world leading. We've met them all in the past and actually exceeded them. And this is, as I said, the proportionate, pragmatic way to deliver net zero, which will help families who all want to do the right thing, but we just need to do this in a proportionate manner. That's what we're doing. And look, and it's an example of the change that I want to bring. If you want to change the country as I do, we've got to change how we do politics. We've got to inject honesty into this debate. That's what I'm doing. And yes, I get that people will have their views, they'll want to be critical, but I want to do things differently. I'm going to bring change, and that is how we're going to build a better future for our children.
The Speaker of the House of Commons was furious with you yesterday that you made this announcement outside of Parliament. These changes will have to be put to a vote in the Commons. Will that vote be a vote of confidence in your own leadership? There are some of your colleagues who are talking about putting letters in.
Well, this is about doing the right thing for the country, and that's what I'm doing. I'm focused on bringing change. I want to change the direction of our country. I want to build a better future for our children, and I'm going to make the right long-term decisions that will make that happen. I'm not interested in chasing short-term headlines. I'm not interested in taking the easy way out. I'm interested in bringing real change. And yes, I know I'm going to face resistance along the way from all different quarters, but I am going to be undeterred in doing that, because that's what people want to see. They want to see change, and we won't have change unless we do things differently. And yesterday was an example of me doing exactly that. Thanks very much.
I've got one more very quick question for you about interest rates. interest rates, if that's okay. The interest rates announcement is out today. Even if they stay as they are, interest rates are still very high, putting pressure on households. When do you think people will start to feel better off?
Well, look, I know things are tough right now for families and businesses with the cost of living, and that's why my number one priority coming into this year was to halve inflation. We had very welcome news yesterday, which people might not have seen, but inflation yesterday fell faster than many people were expecting. That shows that our plan is working. We've got to stick to the plan and to bring inflation down. That's what my number one economic priority is, and that's what we're delivering. And in the meantime, we've got support in place to help families that are struggling, whether it's those on welfare or people with mortgages. But the most important thing I can do to help people is to bring inflation down as quickly as possible. Yesterday's figures show that the plan is working. Thanks very much.
Prime Minister, thank you very much for your time.